You are paid in direct proportion to the problems you can solve. Problems are everywhere, in business, in life. But here's the thing, being great at solving them is what separates the good from the great. For over 8 years now, I've faced many challenges, all shapes and sizes, and trust me, it wasn't pretty. From customer issues to team conflicts, I've learned the hard way. I don't know how I survived, to be honest with you. When I first started, I was a one-man band at a scrappy startup. Picture this, juggling marketing, sales, and product all at once. I felt like every day there was a new fire to put out. But here's the twist. Those chaotic moments taught me some of the most valuable lessons I carry with me today. I wasn't solving business problems, I was shaping my own path. I realized that the ability to tackle problems head on is what allowed me to grow from overwhelmed marketer to where I am today. In this video, I am going to walk you through how not to just survive, but thrive with problems, especially with marketing problems. I'll cover how to define the problem, brainstorm solutions, evaluate them, and implement like a pro. The better, faster, and smarter you get at solving problems, the more successful you'll be. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Rashid. I'm a growth marketing lead at a bootstrap software company, and today I'm going to share problem-solving frameworks that will make you stand out from the rest and become a 10x marketer. So let's dive in. Number 1 is master first principles. You need to think like a chemist. Break down a process down to its fundamental parts and build up from there. First principles is all about deconstruction, disassembling, and analyzing, and then removing assumptions to allow more creative problem solving. Go deep with these 3 steps. First is keep asking why. Use the 5 whys method, where you repeatedly ask why to uncover the root cause of a problem. Starting with a surface level issue, each why leads to a deeper understanding to reach the fundamental cause or truth, helping you uncover insights that are often unlooked. Secondly, I would challenge everything. So don't take things at face value, question conventional thinking, seek out alternative perspectives, and be open to reconsidering long-held beliefs. Consistently doing your own due diligence will help you approach problems with a fresh mindset and break free from old habits that might limit innovation. And thirdly is expose assumptions. So identify the underlying assumptions that drive decisions. Ask for specific details and gather evidence to validate whether those assumptions are true or merely accepted without question. Get different perspectives from others that will help you reveal any hidden biases. One more I forgot to mention is deconstruct and reconstruct. So break an idea or problem down into its basic components. Once you've identified the parts, you can reassemble them into new, more effective ways. Continue testing, iterating, and refining the solution until you arrive at something better. So this leads to number 2, circle of competence. So your circle of competence represents the areas where your skills and expertise lie. Recognizing this allows you to focus on what you know best and evaluate your abilities more accurately. It's not about the size of the circle, but how you operate within its boundaries. As Warren Buffett wisely put it, know your circle of competence and stick within it. The size of that circle is not very important. Knowing its boundaries, however, is vital. So what that means is that each of us, through experience and study, develops valuable knowledge in specific areas. Embracing your circle of competence means doubling down on your strengths and leaving what's outside of it to others. This approach lets you leverage your expertise while avoiding the pitfalls of venturing beyond your limits. So with all that said, how do you do this? So 1 is define your niche. Identify areas where you have deep expertise and can add most value. Focus on what sets you apart and avoid overextending into unfamiliar territory. Next, you want to double down on what you do best. Rather than trying to master everything, invest the time and energy into honing the skill that fall within your circle. This sharpens your competitive edge and enhances your performance. Then what you also want to do is learn to delegate. Recognize that you don't have to do everything yourself. Surround yourself with experts in areas outside your circle and delegate tasks that fall beyond your expertise. This allows you to stay in your zone of genius while others have the opportunity to shine in theirs. Here are some pointers for effective delegation. So one is clearly articulate the desired outcome. So 90% of success comes from how well you communicate what you're asking for. Be explicit about the what and also the why. Providing the purpose behind tasks helps avoid short-sightedness and fosters deeper understanding of the goal. Then number 2 is define constraints and boundaries. Make sure to communicate any limitations, deadlines, or guidelines to ensure clarity and avoid misunderstandings. Then number 3, match responsibility with authority. So ensure the level of responsibility aligns with the level of authority. While the task is delegated, ultimate accountability remains yours. And 4, offer adequate support and encourage questions. This is a big one. Be available to answer questions and encourage open communication. This ensures the person you delegate feels supported and confident in their work. So that's another killer framework that I think would really help you. Let's move on to the next part of this video, is number 3. Inversion. Inversion is the practice of looking at things both forward and backwards. It can pay off to have a little or not too much pessimism inside of you if you channel it correctly. I learned this the hard way because I've always been pessimistic due to being burnt in the past, right? So what you want to do here is use negative visualization to do the following. Avoid mistakes and obstacles. So instead of focusing on what will increase your productivity, ask what could decrease it. What would distract you or make it difficult to focus? Identify potential barriers to help you preemptively avoid them. For example, when considering a lead generation, think about what could prevent success. Budget constraints, increased costs, or losing a team member. Anticipating challenges prepares you to tackle them when they arise. Next is consider opposing views. Challenge your own perspectives by exploring opposing views. If someone disagrees with you, don't immediately dismiss it and dismiss their opinion. Instead, consider if there's merit to their arguments. The process can refine your own viewpoint and help you discover insights you may have missed. Next is challenge the status quo. Avoid blindly following best practices. The world is rarely black and white, and there's often room for innovation. Just because everyone says you need a lead magnet doesn't mean it's the best option for you. Question traditional methods and consider alternatives that might work better for your situation. Next is become comfortable with failure. Imagine the worst case scenarios, losing your job, missing a goal, or failing in some kind of way. This helps reduce fear and makes the possibility of failure less intimidating. By accepting failure as a potential outcome, you're more likely to take action and innovate without being paralyzed by fear. So just a quick reminder here, if you're enjoying this video, it would be a huge help if you tap that like button, hit that subscribe button, as it would really help me get my content out there. Would hugely appreciate it. With that said, let's move on to part 4, measure versus magnitude. In marketing, we often evaluate strategies based on key factors. So in marketing, we often evaluate strategies based on 2 key factors, magnitude and measure. Both are essential, but they operate in different timescales and serve different distinct purposes in your strategy. So with magnitude, this refers to the immediate impact something provides at a specific moment in time. Examples include paid ads, product launches, offer launches, or email blasts. Actions that generate quick, noticeable results. Typically, these are short-form boosts in visibility, engagement, or sales. Then you have measure on the other hand. This refers to sustained, long-term value something brings over time. So think of organic traffic, case studies, content marketing, efforts that build momentum and continue to provide value far beyond the initial push. These are ongoing strategies that compound and deliver consistent results over time. While it's tempting to focus on the magnitude, those big launches or quick spikes in results, measure is what truly drives long-term growth. The steady impact is what sustains success. Both magnitude and measure are vital, but understanding their differences will help you balance quick wins with long-term growth. This leads to part 5 of this video, solutions that backfire. So this is known as the Cobra effect. The Cobra effect refers to situations where an attempted solution leads to unattended, often worse consequences. So this happens when we assume cause and effect are straightforward, like a simple chain of events. However, in the real world, things are much more complex. In dynamic systems, there are multiple interconnected feedback loops, reinforcing and balancing each, influencing another in unpredictable ways. To effectively navigate these systems, it's important to understand how they function. So you have reinforcing, so positive feedback. This type of feedback amplifies a desired effect, pushing the system further in the same direction. It's a self-reinforcing loop, often leading to rapid growth or escalation. Then you have balancing, which is negative feedback. This is pulling the system back towards balance. So it's a corrective mechanism that counteracts changes to keep things stable. When dealing with dynamic systems, it's crucial to not view them as linear chain of events. Instead, you should focus on understanding how different elements interact through these feedback loops. By stepping back and seeing the big picture, you can better predict the long-term outcomes of your actions and avoid unintended consequences. So this leads to part 6 of this video, is value-price ratio. Price based on perceived value, not just cost. You invest significantly in ads to acquire leads and nurture them through the sales funnel. But when they reach the checkout, you often hear, is there any discount? It's a bit expensive. This feedback indicates a misalignment in the cost-value balance. You've put in the effort, but if your pricing doesn't reflect the perceived value, customers hesitate to convert or stay loyal. So the key to pricing is base it on value you deliver, not just costs or profit margins. Even if your product or service is highly valuable, customers need to feel that they're getting a great deal. This is where the value-price ratio comes into play. So a 1-to-1 value-price ratio means that customers receive exactly what they pay for. While this feels fair, it lacks a compelling reason for them to choose your product over competitors. Where a 10-to-1 value-price ratio, however, installs a sense of urgency. Customers perceive that they are getting far more value than they are paying for, making them not only eager to buy, but also likely to recommend your product and remain loyal long-term. If customers are canceling due to price, it's a sign that your value-price ratio isn't significantly high for them. Instead of simply lowering prices, focus on enhancing perceived value through strategies such as offering advanced how-to guides, providing consulting or done-with-you services, create valuable mini courses, or educational content. The key is to align the pricing with the value your customers derive from your product. A 1-to-1 cost-value balance might break even, but it won't foster loyalty. A 10-to-1 cost-value balance turns customers into advocates of your brand. Instead of reducing prices in response to objections, explore creative ways to demonstrate your value. So with that said, let's move on to part number 7 of this video, which is opportunity costs. Whenever we spend our money or time on one thing, we implicitly give up on the ability to spend that same money or time on something else. This is an opportunity cost or trade-off. The trade-off can be for better or for worse. Compare your best opportunity to your next best one. And if it's not better, don't waste time on it. Opportunity cost is the cost of the next best option. Consider short and long-term opportunity costs. So with short-term, immediate returns, for example, this is immediate returns. So paid ads, paid acquisition channels often always outperform organic channels in the short term. Long term is compounding results realized over time. So this is organic traffic, organic acquisition, referrals. So these channels tend to outperform paid ones in the long run. Examples of opportunity costs. One can be short-term versus long-term. So achieving long-term often requires making uncomfortable short-term decisions, while short-term happiness may involve sacrificing for long-term gains. Long-term marketing strategies usually invest in delayed benefits rather than immediate returns. Another way is inaction versus action costs. So doing nothing can cost more than doing something. Time is finite and spent at a considerate rate. Waiting a year to start marketing is a year of progress you'll never get back. Next is number 3, time and lesson costs. So the best strategies often lead to the thought of, why didn't we start this sooner? Start with those strategies now to avoid regret. Even small efforts early on can make a big difference later. So overall, opportunity cost is the cost of the next best option. So part 8 of this video is minimum path to value. Both product and marketers share a habit of over-explaining. We sure do. People want to know how every single feature works and the benefits, but the truth is that it's mostly unnecessary, often even detrimental. Think about the last landing page you visited. How much did you actually read? Not much, right? Consider your last online purchase and how many options you had to choose from, the information you needed to provide, and the decisions you had to make. The process felt long and annoying. We often expect far too much of people. The minimum path to value is a concept that seeks to identify the least amount of steps required for someone to understand enough to make a decision about your product or service. The thought experiment is, if you strip away everything that wasn't absolutely necessary for someone to feel comfortable making a decision, what would it look like? That's a really important quote. This can apply to funnels, onboarding flows, checkout processes, micro conversions, essentially any multiple step process. Hick's law states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number of complexity of choices. In simpler terms, the more choices there are, the longer it takes to make a decision. And the longer it takes, the less likely it will be to be completed. So how do we do this in marketing? First, you want to take inventory. Assess every step between the visitor's input and the desired output. Pick multiple step processes for this exercise and inventory every step and element in the process. Write down everything from the start to the end and everything in between. Secondly, remove non-essential elements. Conduct an audit of each step and its element. Ask yourself, is this essential to get someone to the end goal? If not, remove it. If yes, keep it. We need to be somewhat cutthroat in this process. It's an experiment. So be aggressive, question everything. Is it truly essential? Can something be modified to make it non-essential? Don't be afraid to be creative. Stress test everything so that only what truly essential remains. Thirdly is reconstruct and iterate. Rebuild remaining elements and test this new process. The goal is to find the minimal path to value. Simplify choice for people, breaking complex tasks into smaller steps. This is known as micro commitments. Avoid overwhelming them by keeping it short and simple. Like the phrase says, keep it simple, stupid, as they say. This is known as KISS. To finalize, it's addition by subtraction, okay? Can you improve a system or a process removing elements instead of adding them? Create a path with minimum number of steps and actions required to demonstrate the value of your product or service. So there you have it. Those are my 8 problem-solving frameworks that I have learned from my past over 8 years now. I've been carrying this for a long time, and I still use this to this day, and it's really helped me throughout my career, and I really do hope it will help you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.